Close your eyes for a moment and recall the feeling of having your desire fulfilled. That moment where the world is quiet and your heart is stilled, because you know. That inner knowing is the true sign. Not the number on the clock, not the words spoken by a stranger, but the stillness within. That is the beginning of manifestation. You see, this world is not random. It is a mirror. And when you shift inwardly, the world begins to echo your new assumption. If you've begun to see glimpses, a phrase repeated, a symbol that stirs you, a dream that feels real, do not question it. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations, echoes from the unseen, whispering, it is already yours. You may have noticed a shift, not out there, but in here. You feel less frantic, less needy. You are no longer seeking. Something inside you has surrendered, not in defeat, but in quiet certainty. That feeling of release, that is your proof. When the desire is truly accepted as done, the anxiety to get it disappears. There may be days when you feel nothing is moving, but then someone mentions exactly what you've been imagining. A song plays. You overhear your own story spoken by another. These are signs, not to be worshipped, but acknowledged as reflections of your new inner world. These are the shadows cast by your imagination already made real. Understand this, the feeling comes before the fact. You feel abundance, and then the wealth appears. You feel love, and then the person arrives. You feel freedom, and then the doors open. If you are feeling these things now, without needing the external evidence, then it is done. Your desire is not coming, it is unfolding. So many wait for signs to believe, but the one who truly understands begins to believe, and then the signs appear. If the world is whispering back to you in synchronicities, unexpected blessings, or that soft sense of knowing, do not doubt. These are not hints, these are proof. Do not chase signs. Do not ask the world to reassure you. Instead, rest in the conviction that it is already yours. Walk in the world as one who has already received. Speak with the voice of someone whose prayer is answered. Think from the end, not toward it. The signs are not the cause, they are the consequence. And if you are seeing them, feeling them, becoming aware of them, it means one thing. You have moved. You are no longer the person who wants the desire, you are the one who has it. The bridge of incidents is forming beneath your feet, even as you stand still. Walk forward in trust. Let the world echo your imagination. It already is, because when you see the signs, you're not being teased. You are being told, it's done. What you see around you is never separate from what you carry within you. The people you meet, the situations you encounter, even the so-called coincidences, they all mirror your internal world. This is not metaphorical, it is literal. Your outer experience is shaped, formed, and given life by the unseen patterns of thought, belief, and emotion that you entertain consistently. The world is not reacting to your actions, it is responding to your state of consciousness. When you begin to imagine a new reality, when you saturate your mind with a new assumption and persist in it regardless of appearances, something begins to shift. At first, it may be subtle, a word repeated by a stranger, an image that shows up multiple times in different places, or a dream that feels real and vivid. These are not accidents. They are echoes from the outer world, reflecting the new reality forming within you. The moment you accept a new truth inwardly, the world has no choice but to conform to that truth. You may think you are waiting for the world to change so you can feel differently, but in truth, the world is waiting on you. The change must begin within. You must feel wealthy before you see wealth. You must feel love before you witness love expressed. You must feel free before freedom shows up. It may seem backward to the logical mind, but that's because this is not a matter of logic, it's a matter of law. The inner creates the outer. You can test this for yourself. The next time you experience conflict or limitation, do not try to fight or fix the outside. Go within. Ask yourself what state you are embodying. What do you believe about yourself in that moment? Are you identifying with lack, fear, or separation? Then the world must reflect that back to you. But if you can shift even slightly into a state of abundance, peace, and unity, then the world must shift too. And you may feel that you don't necessarily mean it, but the world must shift too. It is law. The outer world is obedient. It does not argue. It does not judge. It simply reflects. Like a mirror, it does not choose what to show. It only shows what stands before it. And if what stands before it is a person rooted in confidence, gratitude, and expectancy, then the mirror will show a life full of opportunities, blessings, and progress. If what stands before it is doubt, fear, and lack, the mirror will show more of the same. So when you begin to see the world reflecting your desires, when doors start to open, when people treat you differently, when resources show up just when you need them, know this: it is not a fluke. It is the confirmation that your inner world has changed. Your assumption is taking form. Your new state is being honored by the world around you. Do not ask, is it working, when the signs begin to appear. Recognize that the mirror is finally catching up to what you have already accepted as true. You are not waiting for your desire. Your desire is waiting for you to recognize that it's already being made visible. The outer simply reflects the inner. Always. There comes a moment in your journey when something inside you softens. You no longer feel the same urgency, the same desperation, or the constant ache of waiting. You begin to breathe more deeply. You notice a quiet calm where there was once tension. This is not apathy. It is not giving up. It is alignment. It is the subtle but powerful shift from longing to having, from chasing to resting, from trying to force the external to knowing it is already yours. This change within you is not to be ignored. It is the most important sign of all. When you enter the state of the wish fulfilled, you feel it before you see it. Your emotions change. Your thoughts no longer revolve around how or when. Instead, there's a peaceful sense of completion. You no longer feel the need to ask over and over, to look for signs with anxious eyes. You are no longer reaching for your desire as if it's far away. You begin to walk and think and live as if it's already part of your reality. This is the state that creates the world. This shift is invisible to others at first, but you feel it. You may even doubt it because it feels so effortless. You wonder, why don't I care like I used to? Or why do I feel so peaceful all of a sudden? That peace is not indifference, it's a signal that you've moved, that your consciousness has accepted a new identity. The person who once begged for the desire is gone. The new you, the one who has it, has arrived. This new state doesn't require proof. It doesn't demand validation from the outside world. It knows. And because it knows, it is silent, it is steady. You stop looking at the clock. You stop measuring your worth by what has or hasn't appeared. You don't need to manipulate or perform. You simply are. You carry yourself differently. Your imagination is no longer a place of escape, but a place of creation. You visit your desired reality often, and it feels normal, even inevitable. Peace, detachment, and quiet confidence are the natural results of dwelling in the end. They are not things you have to force. They flow from being settled in your assumption. You no longer entertain the old stories of lack or limitation. When fear knocks, you recognize it for what it is, a remnant of an old state, and you no longer let it in. Your inner world becomes your true home. The outer world begins to mirror that new home, not immediately, but inevitably. And so, when you notice this shift within you, this gentle turning from striving to knowing, rejoice. It is the clearest evidence that something powerful is unfolding. You are no longer asking for your desire, you are being it. And being always precedes having. This inner movement is what makes all manifestation possible. You may not see the full picture yet, but you are in the right frame. Remain in that quiet confidence. Stay in the peace that does not need to explain itself. Let the world catch up to who you've become inside, because once your state has shifted, the rest is just the unfolding of what you have already claimed in spirit. Time as we know it is not fixed. It bends and shapes itself around the consciousness that dares to assume something new. When you boldly assume a new reality, not merely hope for it, but truly dwell in it mentally and emotionally, something beyond logic begins to stir. Events shift, people appear, paths open. And yet, the movement feels almost surreal, like a dream you are gently waking into. What we call signs, the repeating numbers, the unexpected texts, the people who suddenly cross our paths. These are not random messages from the universe. They are the outer echoes of a reality already accepted within. The moment you persist in a new assumption, the world must bend to reflect it. It may not do so instantly, but it will respond in ripples, like the first waves after a stone is dropped into still water. And those ripples are what many chase, mistaking the effect for the cause. But you must understand, the cause is always within. When your assumption is firm, when you feel it as true and live from it as real, time no longer follows its usual pace. It becomes fluid, responsive, even obedient. You may find that something you thought would take years arrives in weeks, or perhaps something you once thought impossible begins unfolding in a way that feels effortless. It isn't because the world suddenly became magical. It's because your inner world shifted and time simply bowed to your new direction. There is no need to run after synchronicities, no need to decipher every sign like a riddle. The moment you begin to chase the signs, you step out of the assumed state and fall back into seeking Daruichi. But when you remain grounded in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you no longer react to signs. You recognize them as natural consequences of a reality already unfolding. This is why you may begin to notice strange alignments. A conversation echoes the very thing you imagined. A stranger says the exact phrase you once whispered to yourself in a quiet moment. You wake up at the same symbolic hour again and again. These are not clues to figure out. They are confirmations. You don't need to respond with urgency. Respond with peace, with gratitude, with the knowing that you are seeing the surface of something much deeper already in motion. Time is not your enemy. It is not delaying you. It is arranging itself around your assumption. Your only task is to remain faithful to the unseen reality. When you persist in that inner knowing, time will serve you. It will fold itself into the story you've chosen to believe. So if you are seeing synchronicities, if the world is beginning to hum in tune with your desires, understand that it is not random, it is resonance. The vibration of your assumed reality is sending ripples through the fabric of time and space. And what you see now, those small signs, those quiet nods, are not hints that it might happen. They are proof that it already is. There is a sacred alignment that occurs when your emotions begin to match the reality you have imagined. Without any visible change in the outer world, you begin to feel differently. Lighter, calmer, more joyful. It is as though the future you once longed for has already arrived, not in form, but in feeling. And that feeling is the bridge. When you feel joy, gratitude, or calm before the thing appears, you've entered the true creative state. You've stepped into the vibration of receiving. This shift is not forced. It is not the result of affirmations repeated with tension or rituals done in desperation. It arises naturally when you fully accept that what you desire is already yours. You no longer need to chase it, beg for it, or convince yourself of it. You feel as though the end is now. And that is the secret, to dwell in the end emotionally, before the senses confirm it. Many believe they must wait to celebrate. They say, I'll be grateful when it arrives. I'll be happy when I see it. I'll feel peace once I have it in my hands. But this reverses the process. The emotion must come before the manifestation, not after. Feeling joy before the evidence appears is not foolish. It is powerful. It is the signature of someone who has shifted their inner state and is now magnetizing the outer to match. Think of it this way. Emotion is frequency. When you feel joy, you are tuned to the frequency of the fulfilled desire. When you feel gratitude, you are declaring to the universe that you have already received. When you feel peace, you are no longer at war with the gap between the seen and unseen. You are resting in the certainty of its arrival. These emotions are not reactions. They are causes. They set the tone. They build for. This is why a person who practices inner peace and joy, even when nothing has changed on the surface, will find that the world begins to shift around them, opportunities appear, relationships heal, doors open. Why? Because the world has no choice but to reflect your inner atmosphere. When you live from the end emotionally, the outer must conform. You may notice that the more you feel from the end, the less you check for signs, the less you seek validation. You stop asking, is it working, because you already feel it is. That inner confidence, that lightness of being, that is manifestation in motion. You are no longer aligned with lack, and so lack can no longer cling to you. You are radiating completion. This is not about pretending or putting on a mask. It is about feeling from truth. Even if your five senses disagree, your soul knows when something is done. And when you feel from that place, when your inner world sings with the joy of having, the outer must respond. It may not be immediate, but it will be inevitable. So when you catch yourself smiling without a reason, feeling grateful for what you can't yet touch, or resting in peace despite the unknown, rejoice. You are no longer waiting, you are receiving. And your emotion is not a wish, it is evidence. There comes a point on the path to manifestation when the inner struggle simply begins to fade. The constant questions of what should I do next, or how can I make this happen faster, start to dissolve. Not because the desire has physically shown up yet, but because something deeper has taken place. You've entered into a state of fulfillment. You feel the truth of your desire as already done. And with that awareness, the urgency disappears. Impatience is a symptom of not believing. It's the child of doubt. When you're still caught in the illusion that your desire is separate from you, far away, difficult to reach, uncertain, impatience takes root. You feel the need to push, to chase, to figure everything out with the mind. But the moment you truly accept that it is already yours, something within you softens. You no longer need to manipulate the pieces of the outer world. You trust that everything is aligning on your behalf. This doesn't mean you stop moving entirely or that life becomes passive. Rather, your actions shift from force to flow. You're no longer acting out of desperation, trying to make something happen. You begin to act with clarity and inspiration because you feel supported by something greater than logic, the unseen structure of your assumption taking shape in the world. When the feeling of fulfillment takes hold, your nervous energy fades. You stop needing updates from the outside world. You no longer crave signs as proof. You stop checking the clock. The desire becomes something you simply are, rather than something you need to acquire. This is the power of living in the end. Your emotional state no longer depends on conditions being met. It is self-generated, and that makes it magnetic. Impatience fades because there is nothing left to prove. You are no longer trying to convince yourself. You know. and that knowing silences the inner noise. It brings a calm certainty that is far more powerful than any effort or struggle. In that quiet, you find trust. Not blind trust in the world, but deep trust in the unseen mechanics of consciousness, in the law that what you accept within must externalize without. When you are truly fulfilled inwardly, waiting no longer feels like waiting. It becomes watching, observing, anticipating with joy instead of anxiety. You feel like someone who has already ordered their meal and knows it's on the way. There is no need to pace the room or beg the waiter. You know the process is already unfolding behind the scenes. So if you find yourself relaxing more, if your urge to force things is dissolving, if you feel peace instead of panic, know that this is not inaction, it is mastery. You have entered the creative stillness, the place where true manifestation begins to form. It is not loud, it is not frantic, it is subtle, but it is powerful. And in this sacred space, impatience cannot survive, because fulfillment is already felt. When you begin to align with the reality of your fulfilled desire, the universe doesn't whisper once, it echoes. Over and over again, life sends confirmations, not to convince you, but to mirror your inner state. This is how you know you've truly entered the realm of the assumed end. The signs aren't fleeting or isolated, they come again and again, often in different forms, yet carrying the same message. It is done. These echoes may come as repeated numbers, familiar words spoken by strangers, recurring dreams, symbols that seem to follow you, or themes that keep appearing in unexpected places. They may show up in songs, in social media, or in spontaneous conversations. And while the logical mind may call them coincidences, the soul recognizes them as echoes of truths, reverberations of the imagined end beginning to imprint itself on your external world. Repetition is the language of alignment. When you are vibrating at the frequency of your desire, the outer world cannot help but reflect that frequency back to you. You see confirmation not because you're seeking it, but because you are now living in harmony with it. Just as a tuning fork vibrates when it hears a matching note, the world vibrates in response to your internal song. The signs are not needed to create belief, they appear because belief already exists. This is why someone living in doubt rarely sees confirmation. They are not aligned with the end, so life cannot reflect that end back to them. But the one who assumes their desire is already fulfilled begins to notice repetition, not once, not twice, but consistently. This consistency is not something you create, it is something you receive. It is the outer world repeating back the message your inner world is now constantly broadcasting. And yet, the signs do not demand analysis. They do not exist for the purpose of being decoded. Their role is not to prove anything to you. They are simply reminders, gentle nudges, invitations to stay in the state of knowing, to stay in the end. Every time you see the confirmation, let it deepen your peace. Let it ground your certainty. Let it remind you that you are not waiting. You are already walking in it. Think of it like an echo in a canyon. You speak the word once and the walls return it to you repeatedly. This is how life works for the one who dares to imagine and believe. Once you claim your desire within and feel it as true, the echo begins. Not from desperation, not from effort, but from resonance. The imagined end is now vibrating through time, through space, through form. So when confirmation appears, don't ask, what does this mean? Instead, affirm, this is the sound of it happening. Don't look for the sign, embody the state, and the signs will chase you. They will follow you, surround you, and return to you again and again, because you are now one with the thing you once desired. Life echoes what you assume, and when the echoes keep coming, it's not a question of if, it's only a matter of when. What you desire is not somewhere far off in the distance. It is already forming, already unfolding, already reflecting through the mirror of your inner world. The signs you see, the peace you feel, the subtle shift in your emotions. These are not empty signals, they are confirmations that you have moved. You are no longer aligned with lack, but with fulfillment. The world responds not to your effort, but to your assumption. When you feel from the end, when your emotions align with what you've imagined, and when your impatience fades into trust, the desire must appear, not as something you chase, but something you now receive. So hold the feeling, live from the end, let the signs echo, let time bend, and let your certainty be unshaken. You are not hoping, you are remembering. You are not waiting, you are receiving. It is done. Saying, thank you for allowing this message to reach you. May you continue to live from the end, trust the unseen, and walk forward in the knowing that your desire is not coming, it's already yours.